Hi, Dijonn.
Good morning. Good day. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely okay. I can hear you okay. Everything's good.
Brilliant.
How is UK?
It's dry. For once, it's dry. We've had a lot of wet weather.
Good.
But no, it's good today. It is a bit chilly, but it's good.
Okay. Currently, I'm in India, and India is really hot. This part of the year, India is really hot. But
Very hot.
yes, but there are a lot of places that's so lovely at this part of the year right now. So yeah, there's the benefits of the weather. Whether it's cold or hot, there are benefits. Okay, so
Or if it's my
people are still
side.
joining in. By any chance, am I echoing?
Yes. We're freezing a little bit.
Okay.
It just came up with an unstable network, as unstable widthband, sorry, or something like that. It just popped up. But
Is it
I
better
can
now?
hear you okay.
Okay. Probably I'll switch to my headphones.
Yeah.
I'll switch to my headphones then. Meanwhile, I
Okay.
think, we have another minute to go. People have started pouring in, and this is the second session of our master classes. We had, in fact, for 2024. This is the first masterclass that we are having. So you are our lucky guest.
Oh, wow.
And we are so happy to host you again. So
Thank you.
okay, so I think we're about time, and people are still pouring in.
Okay. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, let's check all of that. Please try and share the screen. Can you? Can you try sharing your screen? Does it work for you?
We've completely gone now. I'll just try again. Just bear with me a second.
Yes. I gave you the access and permissions.
Yes, please.
Meanwhile, people who are pouring in, welcome to Edorer's Masterclass, the first Masterclass in the year of 2024. We're going to come up with a lot of such sessions. There are so many of them lined up. I can hear myself. Okay.
I can hear you. Can you see anything on the screen for me?
No, not yet. Are you trying to share?
Yeah, I just want to see if I can. Right, might be.
Should.
I just want to have in the background, as long as just take a while to come up.
You want to try sharing? Is it working for you? Yes. Your screen has started to come up. It's black though, but I'm sure it'll appear.
Yeah, we've got it. We've just gone over by.
Yes,
I'm just aware of time here for.
Okay. No,
So, some odd reason, I'm trying to share. Yeah, it's showing me a black screen as well. This is technology at its best at connections.
It's okay. Our audience is very lovely. Everybody is a little amount of patience. It's okay. Take your time. I mean, like, what's not working? You take your time.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'll make some introduction, and I'll have a little chat with the audience. So our audience is very lovely. Most of the people are from university, uh, like university professors, officials, and a lot of students. Today's topic is definitely very exciting, how to go from average to
Right.
outstanding, and everybody wants to know more and more of that. We have been struggling and we have been trying
Yeah.
all our lives as long life learners. So this is definitely an interesting opportunity for all of us to learn. Okay, so meanwhile, Dijonn, do let me know. I mean, like, yes, I can see that you are sharing, and yes, wonderful. We can see your presentation.
You can see the
Awesome.
screen.
Awesome, it's great.
Brilliant,
So,
brilliant.
fine.
So can I just ask you, Ukta, can you see just the one? You can't see my notes or anything. I'm just hoping.
No, we can see your notes.
Right. Okay, that's fine. Absolutely fine. As long as you can see that, I am good.
Okay. Yeah, you're doing it on Canva, so it's okay. But we can see your notes and we can see your presentation as well.
Right,
Okay.
brilliant.
Quick intro about Dijonn. I think we are about time, and welcome everyone to Edorer's Masterclass. Today we have Dijonn Taylor, and she is one of the most noticeable voices when it comes to career and learning, and personal improvement in career development for young professionals, and even working professionals with decent amount of experience. She has a tremendous amount of career, an astounding career, where she has been the CEO of companies like Savvyguest, Young Graduate. She's also the global digital ambassador at the World Assessment Council, and the list of achievements is great. In fact, she was also invited recently at the Buckingham Palace. I'm sure that must have been a great experience. And I can see so many of them here. She has been the highly commendable woman in business. She was also ranked top 50 inspiring, prominent, and influential Black voices in UK Tech. And here we are with her today, all eager to listen from her. Welcome to Edorer's Masterclass, Dijonn, and the floor is all yours. And before that, there's a little announcement to make. So how this masterclass is going to go is, first we'll have a 60 to 90-minute session, depending on what Dijonn has. After the session, people can actually raise their hand. In fact, during the session also, you can raise your hands, but I would not be able to allow anyone. But once the session is over, we'll be open to Q&A with her. And in that Q&A or an AMA, Ask Me Anything session, whatever that you have on your mind, you can raise your hands. And if you're willing enough to actually put yourself, I'll put you on the spotlight. If you want to share your video, you can do that, and the whole world can see you. And then we'll also be putting this entire video on our social media. So without further ado, Dijonn, the platform is all yours.
Well, good afternoon, good day from the UK, and good evening from India. And those who are in that part of the world, thank you for having me today. I'm really pleased actually, because this is probably my first of the masterclass in that region, in your region, I should say. So I am truly excited to be able to share this with you today. I'm going to do it through a presentation of slides, and I hope we were just having a few technical issues, but I think we've sorted it out here, haven't we, Sarab? So I'm going to take you through a bit of a journey, and I hope at the end of the 60 minutes, for those who are still with us, and I hope you can be with us right to the end, because I promise you, by the time we finish this session, I am going to make you understand how to be more memorable. So we come into the, you're at university, so you're going to be coming to the crossroads of applying for roles, whether you're going on into education, further into education, or you're going to be applying for jobs. And it's always really, really difficult. There is no magic wand. I don't have a magic wand today. Unfortunately, I wish I had, because there are loads of stories where we can just produce magic and it happens. But it's a really difficult area when you're sort of making that transition. If I am speaking too fast, just please let me know. Just raise your hand and I can slow it down a bit, because I do realise I do speak quite fast sometimes. That's when I do get excited about this particular subject. However, I will sort of bring it right down. Thank you very much. So, as I said, I'm going to do this through presentation. I'm going to talk over the presentation. And at the end of it, we're going to have chance for questions and answers. And I do hope you can find some really difficult questions for me to answer as well, because I like to open up the space where sometimes I've not had those questions asked of me. And that's only part of the learning that I and yourselves will learn as we go along. So I'm just going to try and share my screen. I will share my screen. I'm not going to try. I will share my screen. So if you just bear with me while we go through this, and we'll share the image to outstanding presentation. It might just take a while through, but you can give me a thumbs up. So I'm hoping you can all see my screen at the moment. So I'm going to just fire away and get through the presentation. So here we are. As I said, welcome and thank you for having me. I am going to promise you today that this is going to be one of those masterclasses where it will stick in your mind, it will be etched in your mind, and as I said, it's going to make you understand how to be more memorable. So here I am. This is me. I'm Dijonn Taylor. As it says, I'm an award-winning career coach, education and enterprise specialist, and an entrepreneur. So let's get rid of those titles for a moment. I am Dijonn. This particular picture here is my most biggest achievement to date. This picture was taken in May of 2022 at Buckingham Palace. So here I am going to meet the Queen in May. However, at this time, the week before I went to Buckingham Palace, the Queen was on her last engagements, royal engagements, as she stepped down before she became ill and unfortunately her passing. So during this time, I met who was Prince Charles at this time, who then became the King Charles of the UK, England. So why was it my biggest achievement to date? Because over the 3 decades of my work, of learning, being a career coach, working in education, working in business, I got a really suspicious email that was inviting me to come to Buckingham Palace. And if you can imagine, when you get an email like that, you think it's a bit of a scam. So I read the email and I'm thinking, this can't be real. And I contacted the number on the email, and that email, the person said, yes, the email was absolutely correct and proper. It wasn't an error, it wasn't a scam, and I was invited to Buckingham Palace. So this was my biggest achievement. So it's only coming up to 3 years, 2 years, sorry, in May. So next month will be 2 years since I went to the palace. So who am I? Looking at the picture from my teenage years, it's never a nice one, but from my teenage years to date, I came from humble beginnings, from a family who migrated to England from the Caribbean, my parents, and they came to England from the Caribbean at a very young age, at the age of 15 and 16, and wanted to find work, which they did, set up life in the UK, and I was born, my brother first and I was born, but my parents worked. Father was a labourer. My mother came into the UK as a seamstress, which is sewing, garments, and worked her way up to be a nurse. So, I didn't have any privileges, and I didn't know, what life would offer to me. But I had no idea what the challenges would be or what I would face from growing up as a, teenager in the first picture to where I am about now. So I was fascinated when I was young by the world, culture, and travel. I used to take up, we had encyclopedias, which would be like Wikipedia today. I had encyclopedias, and I used to look through the back of the encyclopedias because there was a map of the world. So it would show us maps of places in the world. And I was always fascinated about how the world was round. I couldn't understand that. But I used to close my eyes, place my fingers on the map, and where I'd open my eyes, I would say, I'm going to go to this place. I had no knowledge, but that was how I passed my time. So having these encyclopedias, I wanted to travel the world. So that took me to my passion, which was travel and tourism. So by the time I left high school at the age of 16, I went into college to study travel and tourism. And I did that through an apprenticeship route, which was going to college 2 days a week and then going on to the employer and working 3 days a week. So that's how an apprenticeship was back in my day. It's also called work-based learning or on-the-job training, depending on where you're coming from. So I did my apprenticeship for 2 years. And what that did, it helped me to understand not only what I was learning academically, but also being hands-on in the job, and I could see the practical side of work. And I gained my qualifications in travel and tourism. So starting at an apprentice, I then worked my way up, once I'd qualified, to a travel agent. I worked as a travel agent for many years and understood that I had to get the grasp of how I need to work in travel, knowing sort of travel codes, knowing geography, where airlines would fly into the world, where they wouldn't fly into the world, the time differences we have today. The time difference in the UK to India is 5.5 hours. So I had to understand all of those facets, as you like, to how travel worked. So I could leave the UK today and I could be in another country by traveling sort of 13 hours on a flight, but arriving in that country the date before I've left the UK. Just try and get your head around that a bit. So that was all part of the learning. So I sort of progressed through my career as a travel agent into managing a travel agents, and then becoming a trainer, because I understood that I loved the training side of things. So I worked my way up to being a trainer in travel and tourism. So we'll just move on for a little bit. So what I want to do today is talk about how you're going to go from average to outstanding, and how to leverage what you know to make you become a better person and make people understand and see who you are as a better person. So we're going to look at this in more detail. There's an actual art to how you leverage your skills and experience. You cannot leverage what you don't have. So just having a look at the notes on screen, leveraging your personal strengths means using more of what you are good at to get more of what you want. And I'm just going to repeat that so it sinks in. Leveraging your personal strengths means using more of what you are good at to get more of what you want. And the best form of leveraging is self-education. When you know certain things and develop yourself, you put that into action. So that saying is self-education, whether that's an experience, something you've seen, something you've learned. When you know certain things and develop yourself, your personal self, you put that into action to leverage what you do and progress to be a better person, a better individual, and have better opportunities that come forward in your life, personal life, and in your career, and also further afield in your job life. So I'll just give you an idea of how I've used leverage, how it all started. So over 3 decades ago, when I started my business as a young graduate, my first business, young graduate, was offering schools in our area, in our community, in the area of Manchester, where I come from. If you've heard of the team Manchester United or Manchester City, that's the area and where I live, where I've been born and I've grown up. But what was lacking during my time as a grown up, as an adult, was we had not, in our schools in the UK, not just Manchester, we did not raise the aspirations of young children through graduation ceremonies. We didn't have graduation ceremonies where you wear a hat and a cap and a gown to celebrate the success and achievement of young people. So I went about asking schools in my local area, why are we not raising the aspirations of children, especially children who'd come from disadvantaged areas? We had children who were from privileged backgrounds who would get the opportunity to go on to university because it was a paid educational institution at the times. There was no funding for young people who came from disadvantaged areas. So I set about asking schools, can we have some formal event, a traditional graduation ceremony, so we could recognise our young people's achievements, we could motivate them to do better, and we would have this graduation ceremony in the schools. That was a challenge. What it did, it showed me that our schools, our education system wasn't quite open as it seemed to people who were not privileged. I lived just on the edge of the University of Manchester. And every year we saw lots of people walking down the parade where the university was with their cap and gowns, but none of them looked like me. None of them were people of colour. These were all students who were white, who were privileged, and their parents had paid for them to go to university. Whereas I lived on the doorstep of the university and there was no one that looks like me. So here I go, off with my challenge to every school. And outside every school, I stood with a clipboard in my hand. And I asked parents of the children who were at school, would they like a graduation ceremony that celebrates the achievements of their school, of their children, who were going on to, moving on in transition from primary school to high school, and also high school onto further education. And the parents were resoundingly saying, yes, we want this for our young people. With that information I armed myself and I went to the schools, and I asked the head teachers of the schools. I said, look, we've got parents here who want this for their children, and can we provide graduation ceremonies? We had, just to give you, to frame what I'm saying, we had 121 schools, primary schools, in the Manchester region at the time. And I approached every school, every head teacher in Manchester, and every school but one closed the doors and said, we don't send our children never go to university from here. That is a very American thing to do, and the doors were closed. One school which happened to take me up on my offer and said, yes, they would be willing to do that, but they didn't have any cap and gowns. And we're talking in 1996, so we're talking 28 years ago or thereabouts. They said, yes, I could do it, but I would have to go off and get cap and gowns. And if you remember at the top, I said my mum came to England and she was a seamstress. She made garments. I asked my mum and a couple of other women in the local area if they could make me a set of 32 cap and gowns. And they did. So that was the very first ceremony of its kind in the UK in 1996, where children were able to wear graduation cap and gowns and have a full ceremony. And that was my very first business. But what it showed me, it was my stepping stone to say, I have done something that has never been done before. I have opened a door where doors were always closed, and I've managed to put this ceremony on with 32 children from my local area wearing cap and gowns in a full ceremony. We had important dignitaries from the local authority. We had the people presenting the awards to children who were VIPs. We had music playing in the background of local musicians. So it was all over the local press. And it was the very first one, as I mentioned, in the UK. And what happened out of that? The school were Ofsteded. And if you could see at the top of my slide here, the school was Ofsteded. Now, Ofsted is the Office of Standards in Education, Children, Services and Skills in the UK. So this is the overarching organisation that looks at the standards of education in the UK. And the school was visited by inspectors, and the inspectors have to look in the school and see what they have done to improve the lives and raise the standards of children. And as part of their Ofsted report, the Ofsted inspectors had picked up on what I had done in the school and presenting a graduation ceremony. And what they said was that because of what I had done, it had showed that the school had improved the standards of raising aspirations and motivation of young people in that school in an area that was disadvantaged, in hope that they could continue their learning and it would boost their motivation to further education and higher education. So that Ofsted was the very first time I had ever been mentioned by any kind of authority. So moving on from my Ofsted, I use that as a stepping stone to lead from one point to another. And this is where we talk about leveraging. I was then able to use my Ofsted report And I was then invited to speak at the BBC Radio, which is the logo at the very bottom, the pale pink one, in Manchester. I was invited in to talk about what had gone on at the school and why my name was attached with Ofsted. After speaking at BBC Radio, then the doors opened. I was then went down to the Houses of Parliament to talk about different things. I then invited to the picture here on the left with with me in black and orange and a very white-haired male on that picture is Richard Branson, the owner of Virgin, the Virgin Group. So if you've heard of Virgin Aeroplanes and Virgin Atlantic, he owns the Virgin Company. He actually owns an island in the Caribbean called Necker Island. Whilst I've not been there, I am hoping I get there one day. So this is what what leverage looks like. I then had a second company, Savvy Guest, which you heard about in the introduction. And I created Savvy Guest because even though we have careers advice in the UK and further afield, much of the time we don't get a chance to speak with the people who are doing the job role. So we would know we want to be working in journalism, or I'm just picking some careers here off the top of my head. So you might want to work in journalism or dentistry, but we never get a chance to speak with these people and really know what the insights are like, so we can prepare ourselves. So I went about creating a digital platform, and it's called Savvy Guest. And Savvy Guest allowed me to go out to employers and ask them to commit their employees to participate in offering a pre-career conversation with people who were interested and wanted to get into that job role or into that sector or that industry. So because of that, it was a digital platform that was transforming the career space. It was also looking at areas that probably people didn't know or go into. So there was a bit of a fascination about what careers existed that we didn't know about. So it was a bit of a game changer. So with that in hand, I invited employers. Up to over 3,000 employers joined us at the height of Savvy Guest. And we had over 5,000 people, individuals, students, employers, employees who participated and were very much enriched by their pre-career conversations. And Savvy Guest was, again, propelled me to other areas, again, using leverage. The second picture in on the third row, I was featured as an outstanding woman in STEM, which is your science, your technology, engineering and maths, STEM subjects. There was a big article in there where, because I created this digital platform, I was featured there. I was also best entrepreneur, voted in various awards. So just going around, I was a finalist in the Precious Awards. These are at the bottom corner, the round pin. Winner of the Evers Award, and the Evers award was for technology. Again, it's Enterprise Vision Awards, which is what EVA stood for. At the bottom left-hand corner was the Institute of Directors Award. It was a finalist in sustainability. And then it went on to She Inspires Award winner at the top, featured in Tech Nation in the top 50. I think it was, I can't remember the actual title, but it was talking about the most influential voices in UK tech. The World Assessment Council contacted me and said they'd been watching me and they would like to give me an honorary award. The Department of Education there, again, they nominated me to go to Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace invitation in the middle there, where I went to Buckingham Palace for the garden party. But also to enrich what I wanted to do, I joined two charities that worked with young people, which are career ready at the top and young enterprise and at the bottom. And I stayed with them for 6 years. But what that allowed me to do, I became a board member. And as a board member, I sat with others who came from, large companies, and I could sit with them and understand how they worked. If I hadn't put myself in that position, I couldn't enrich myself with those opportunities. So I understand how corporates worked. I understand, how they project managed, how they looked at things differently to how I would as a small business. So I grew and I learned a lot from a lot of these people who sat on the board as board members. Some of them were blue chip companies. Some of them were smaller companies, but it gave me a real insight and fuel for me to go on to do and propel myself. So as we move on, this is me promoting equality in education and employment, gain an award for that. So what we will learn today is how to master the art of leveraging your skills and experience. So just on a note, when I was looking into coming into providing creating a masterclass that I could share, because it doesn't happen overnight. This is, like I said, 30 years of me in and out of business, in and out of employment, in and out of working in careers. But I knew what my passion was. I understand that space of careers. I truly understand how to motivate and how to inspire people. I like to make sure that people get the best out of themselves, and that is where my skill lies. So on average, 118 people apply for a job. Only 20% are called for an interview. So that's on average about 24 people out of 118 people are actually called for an interview. So just think about those numbers for a minute. You're going to now apply for a job that you've seen, and you're applying for that one job. On average, there's another 117 people applying for that job. Now, the employer has to make a decision, and out of those 118 that are applied, they're going to bring that down to 24 people. So on average, there's going to be just under 100 people that are going to get a rejection letter. Out of every 10 to 15 applications, between 6 and 10 are rejected. So just again, those numbers, out of 10 to 15 applications, there's between 6 and 10 that are going to be rejected. If that's in the UK, imagine that around the world. Only 2% of candidates who actually apply are going to be selected for a job interview. So for every job, you've got to think about standing out. You've got to make it memorable, because your application is going to be in a pile with another 117. So there's some things that are really, really important that we're going to go through today. And these are going to be skills that are different to your qualification skills, because we know about academic skills, but there's something about key skills that you need to have. So in addition to your qualifications, employers will seek key skills. They want to know that you have key skills. And in this slide here, there's some points of key skills that will be pulled out every time. They will be looked at every time. And there's these particular set of skills, the key skills, are commonly needed in a range of activities in education and training, work and life in general. So you will be doing some of these in your everyday life without even knowing or even thinking about them or even identifying that you're doing them. My job is to help you bring those from the back to the front of your mind so you can actually see that you are engaging in some of these key skills every day. So let's just look at a few of them. We've got emotional intelligence. We've got decision making. The big one, communication. We cannot move on without communicating and communicating well. You've got teamwork. You've got interpersonal skills. You've got problem solving, active listening, negotiation. You do these in your everyday life. Just an example. Who's cooking and who's doing the washing up? Where would that come in? That would be decision making, I would think. In my house, I cook because I'm the best cook. But who's doing the washing up? Let's make that decision. These are things that you do every day, that you apply every day, but there's an art to bringing them into what you need to put into your application, into your personal statement going forward. So we're going to have a look at these in more detail, and we're going to have a bit of fun. So let's have some fun in Gibraltar. I don't know if any of you know about Gibraltar, but I'm going to just tell you about my journey to Gibraltar. So I've always, as I spoke about, I love travel and tourism. And one of the things when I was looking through my big encyclopedia and put my fingers on with my eyes closed, my finger actually stopped on Gibraltar. And I said, one day I'm going to go to Gibraltar. So in June of last year, I decided I'm going to Gibraltar. Gibraltar is also known as the Rock of Gibraltar. And it is a rock, but it has inhabitants. People live there, but they have a lot of monkeys. So this picture, as you can see, I'm sat on a wall with one of the inhabitants, well-known inhabitants of Gibraltar, the monkeys. So the monkeys live on a nature reserve, and we have to use a cable car to get up to the nature reserve, and the cable car is, I think it's about 120 meters. So what we're told to do at the beginning is to hold onto our bags, keep our bags close to us, because the monkeys will see that, automatically think a bag is food for them, and they will strike. So we had a lot of fun seeing, a couple of people with hanging plastic bags with a packed lunch, and the monkeys instantly taking a fancy to that, grabbing the bags and jumping over the walls. And when one grabs the bag, it's followed by probably about 3 or 4 families of monkeys, maybe up to 20 monkeys following that monkey with the bag. So it, you know, it was a great experience to have, but it was also one of my top things that I wanted to do in my life was go to Gibraltar. So I'm just going to share. We walked a lot, was beautiful restaurants, not a very big place. You could get around it quite easily walking, but it was something I had to do. I was absolutely fascinated by Gibraltar. So I'm just going to share another slide with you. I'm hoping that I'll just start again. So that was a clip that I took. I hope you all heard that okay, but that was a clip I took while we were going up in the cable car. So I just wanted to share that with you so you get a sense of my journey to Gibraltar. So I'm going to just do that journey again. I've just told you what I did, how I enjoyed Gibraltar, and that's an average story. So here where we are. This masterclass is from average to outstanding. I just gave you an example of a journey to Gibraltar, my little holiday, and I gave it you very average. That's an average story. It's great. You got a sense of what I was doing. You got a sense of what I felt. You got a sense of me having a good time. But that's average because anyone can do that. And this is why I say, by the time we leave here, I'm going to show you how to become memorable by leveraging what you do to be able to stand out from the competition. So that's the average. I'm going to make this next slide outstanding. So, you know, I went to Gibraltar. We've seen the slides. You see the picture of me with the monkey, and you've just seen the little clip. So what I'm going to do to make this now outstanding, I'm going to use 5 of those key skills that we saw on the slide, the slide earlier on, and I'm going to use these 5: communication, problem solving, organizational skills, decision making, emotional intelligence. So I'm going to tell that very same story, but I'm going to pull these particular key skills into the story. So you'll see from the average to the outstanding. Okay, I'm just going to take a gulp of water because this is the bit I like. Okay, so here we go. So at a very young age, I was fascinated by the image of the Rock of Gibraltar. What was it? How? What? Where was it? Where was it located? So the Rock of Gibraltar, it's located at the southeastern peninsula of Spain, just at a point, but it's owned by the British. It's a British overseas territory. In fact, when you fly to Gibraltar, the main road that separates Spain from Gibraltar is the airplane track. It's the runway. The runway will be closed to let people walk between the two borders. And then when a plane is come in, they'll open the runway. So my love of travel and tourism, I definitely wanted to go to Gibraltar. So what was I interested in? So first of all, I knew that they had these monkeys. They're actually called Barbary apes. And there's a colony of about 200 monkeys in 6 packs, so 6 families roaming through the upper rock. And the upper rock, you have to get a cable to go to the upper rock. That cable is 120 meters, and it actually only takes 6 minutes to get to the top. Now, you would have heard that in the slide. So, for my time of year, my decision making was June. I wanted to go in June because it was warm. The weather was absolutely nice. I knew it wouldn't be rain. I knew if I had to walk a lot, because you can get around Gibraltar walking, we wouldn't be cold. So we chose that time of year. Decided, well, how was I going to get there? Which airline was I going to use? Which was the shortest route? Which was the most economical? I was only going for 3 days. So for those 3 days, I wanted to get in early, an early flight, to make the most of the day. The first day, so I could be out and about, and we had 2 other days left. So I wanted to make sure I got an early flight into Gibraltar, and coming back, I would have a midday flight, because I had to, with a group, leave the hotel at midday, so we wasn't hanging around. We could go straight to the airport and come back, get a flight and come back to the UK. So I had to look at my organizational skills to be able to do this. So my communication skills, my small group of people, I had to be able to communicate the flights, our baggage allowance, where we were going to stay, access, how long it was going to be for transfers, what we were going to do whilst we were there, what was that plan going to be looking like, what were our activities going to be looking like. I had to communicate all of that information. Now, the group we were going with were all over the UK. They were located in different cities. So I communicated that information using email, digitally. So as much as we could pick the phone up and use WhatsApp, in order for me to record that information and keep the data, I opted to use a digital form of transmission, which was email. We could refer back to that. Now, the needs of the group. This is the problem solving. We had a group of young women. I call myself young, by the way. We had a group of women who all wanted to go. However, in this group, there was a lady who was afraid of heights. Now, bearing in mind, we had to get to the top of the rock to get to the nature reserve in order to see the Barbary apes. Now, unless somewhere, I don't know, a miracle could happen that could whisk us away up to the top of the nature reserve, we had a couple of options. We had option 1, where we was going to get in the cable car, move up 120 meters in 6 minutes. That's a very fast time. Or we could take the option of walking up the rock, which would take us 1 hour and 20 minutes. So we put that to the group. I put it to the group. How are we going to solve this problem? We came to a consensus. If we took the cable car on the way up in 6 minutes, but during that time, we would be talking and making a distraction for the person who didn't like heights. But if that journey was too much, we planned on walking back down. So we agreed we would take the cable car up to the top. In 6 minutes, we would be at the top. Enjoy the moments up at the top, maybe spend an hour and a half, and we would walk the journey back down, which would take us 1 hour and 20 minutes. As it happened, because the journey was so quick, and as you saw on the clip, we were able to listen to that video of the tour guide telling us what was going to happen. I mean, it was a 3-minute video. I've just clipped that to 28 seconds, but on the 3-minute video, it tells you a lot more about what you will see and how you could engage. So that 3-minute video was half of the time of the 6 minutes it would actually take us to go up. And as it happens, we were all better for it. We did actually get up okay, the lady was fine, and we actually came back down the same way. So that was using my skills in problem solving. So just going on to the fear of heights and emotional intelligence. I used my emotional intelligence to make me aware of what was happening of the other person. Sometimes you have to be able to look at a situation and feel, as they would say, feel the room and understand what's going on. Even though I was okay with heights, there was somebody else who wasn't. And what you have to do in emotional intelligence, you have to accommodate that other person's feelings. And we did that by ensuring we would look at the options that were available, as in the cable car and walking back, or if that person was okay with the cable car on the way out and was able to come back on the cable car, we were fine. So all of that in this outstanding version, you could see the difference, the detail that has gone into the same story. If I go back to that slide, I'll just take you back there. So that was the story. That was me looking great, even though we didn't know the background. We had fun. But going back to what I've just explained, it was now more of an outstanding story. So I hope you understand the essence of what I've said, from looking at a picture of average, getting a bigger picture of being outstanding, is applying the details and the layers to what you are going to do. So just moving on, how are you going to do that? What's out there and what's available? I'm sorry, just jumping. It was jumping back. I think it wanted to show you again. So how can you get these opportunities if you don't have them already? Now, Edorer, I know, and I've had a look, have some exciting and incredible boot camps. And I see these as an invaluable enrichment opportunity for life-changing experiences. So you could go to another country and you could have a boot camp for 4 or 5 days, up to 8 days, and to understand the experiences and the uniqueness that you will get from these boot camps. They are going to be personal to each individual. You will be enriched because you are the author. You will be able to write about your experiences. You will be able to sell your skills. You will be able to share what you've done and how you made a transition from A to Z, whatever that was, going on the boot camp, and what your outcomes would be at the end. You are going to be the author of that. Just like I was the author of my trip to Gibraltar, and I could sell you that story. You will be able to be the author of any boot camp that you decide to do. And I know that they have some really exciting boot camps coming up on artificial intelligence. it's a great start to learning and achieving skills that you can leverage to outshine the competition. And as we said before in one of our earlier slides, the best form of leveraging is self-education. When you know certain things and develop yourself, you put that into action. Remember, you cannot leverage what you don't have. You have to start something. I started my graduation company. I then had the Ofsted recommendation, and that propelled me to other stuff. So using Edorer as your platform, your first platform to go out, to go and see the world, go and explore other cultures, and then come back and put that in your personal statements, put that in your applications, in your resumes. You can do that because you've experienced it. And that is a skill that you will learn. It's an art. You will learn that as you learn more. It is an art that will take you and propel you to further heights. So that is something, I encourage you to do. So about my masterclass. So you've got a bit of an introduction into what I will do, I can do, and how I can help you in my 3-part framework of how to master the art of leveraging your skills and experiences. And if you're ready to make this happen, my investment has been over 30 years of navigating education and business and hard knocks and barriers. So I'm not going to expect you to go through another 30 years. I want to be able to do this with you in 3 sessions. That's how much I understand and believe I can guarantee that you will understand those principles of being able to do that. Just going on to the next slide. So what happens in my sessions? So the first session is the deep dive. So what I will do is look at your current professional or your educational statement. We'll deep dive into that, and I would want you to show me as it is now. I will take that away and have a look at it, and then I will come back to have a personal 1-hour one-to-one session. And that one-to-one session will be based on what you've given to me in your personal statement and what I can see, where we can pull out, where we can deconstruct some of the experiences, deconstruct some of the work you've done, deconstruct the skills you have, and make them look 100 times better, sound better, and will be up to a standard where employees will be looking at it and saying, yes, this is somebody I want to be able to interview. Then the last session, we will come back together and revisit and evaluate what your new statement would look like. So these 3 sessions are about 3 hours in total. As I said, it'll be 3 hours of my personal time of going through your personal statement, having our one-to-ones, and revisiting and evaluate what your new statement would look like. So you'll learn how to unpack your skills. We'll be peeling back the layers like I just showed you in the Gibraltar example. We'll peel back and unpack all your skills and experience, because I like to delve deep. I want to know more. And if I want to know more, so does a prospective employer who is looking at your application. They want to know more than just the average. They want to see the outstanding. So that's what we'll learn how to do, how to unpack your skills. By the time We've done our program, our 3 sessions. You will be able to do this on your own because you will have the template to do it. You'll learn how to effectively communicate your skills and experiences, how to show and tell your experience to employers. You'll be able to do that by the time you finish my masterclass. What effective communication is, you, as I mentioned before, the number of people applying for one job, you've got to be able to know how to communicate that effectively. We can all communicate because we can speak, we can sign language, we can lip read for those who have impaired vision or non-verbal communication. We can communicate, but it's how to communicate that effectively. That's the difference. So you will learn how to do that. You will also learn how to leverage your experiences. You'll learn how to elevate and shine using your personal experiences. You're the personal author. I cannot tell you your story. You have to begin to tell me your story. So some of the questions I will ask, and you'll learn on how to leverage your experiences. If you told me, and I'm going to use the example of baking a cake, if you told me you baked a beautiful lemon cake, I will delve into that and ask you to leverage what you did. So the first things you would have had to know is about how and what goes into the cake. What are the ingredients? And for me, if we think about the cake analogy and how you make a cake, you weigh your ingredients, you find out what the ingredients are, but before that you have to go and buy the ingredients, purchase them, know what you're buying, what's going to go into it, how you're going to construct it, how long is it going to be baking for, in the oven, what flavors are you going to put in it, and all that. So we're going to deconstruct the cake. That is how I will show you how to leverage your experiences. And what I'll also do is help you elevate your profile to stand out from that competition by leveraging your skills that you haven't yet identified, that I might see in just by having a conversation with you. I understand how to, have probing questions. I might ask you a question you've never thought of, you've given me a response, and because of your response, I am able now to leverage a skill that you probably haven't identified with. So those are my skills that I will impart on yourself. But my commitment to you is that by the time you have finished with me, you will be a better person in terms of your personal style, your elevation, your motivation, your aspirations, and having all of that as a skill that you can put forward to your employers, your universities, and having those experiences that Edorer have, that on the boot camps that I will really encourage you to look at and get involved. This will be my commitment to you to make sure I can pull this all together. And lastly, so your next steps, you can get in touch by email. I'll leave that up for a minute. When you do get in touch at the info@younggraduate.co.uk, it's really, really important to put in your subject line or your subject box the word leverage. You have to type that in, because when I get that, I will definitely know, as I do run other masterclasses, I will know that you are coming from Edorer. You put leverage in the subject line, and if you put Edorer in the text box of so I know you've come from the masterclass with Edorer today, and then you will get an email back telling you how we can move forward. You can follow me on my socials, on LinkedIn. I'd love to see you all on LinkedIn. I'm at Dijonn Taylor on LinkedIn, so please follow me. And also Young Graduate on X, formerly Twitter. And you can also look at our website, www.younggraduate.co.uk. So this is where I end. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I have managed to give you an essence of what average looks like to what outstanding looks like. I've done it on a bigger scale of my example, but when working on one-to-one and personals, it gets very personal because I can see who's behind the statements. So thank you very much for inviting me today. Thank you for listening. I've enjoyed it. Hope I can come back and do another masterclass at some point if you want me back. But I'll stop sharing my screen now as we come into the hour, and I will have any questions and answers that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dijonn. It was really so inspiring. I'm like, especially the Gibraltar story. I'm like, that's what essentially is storytelling. I mean, like in every aspect of your life. Now, whether you are going for a job interview, how you actually stand out. I think what we have established today is, lay the ground rules of what should be your approach to being outstanding. I mean, like it all begins with the mindset. And I think we have actually set the mindset right. And that was most important. With that note, we'll quickly get into the Q&A. We will do about 20-30 minutes. So guys, I can see 2 questions in the chat. If you have some questions, you can post them on chat. If you also want to ask directly, you can just raise your hand and I'll pull you up and you can ask your question directly to Dijonn. So anybody who has a question, you can raise your hand. And meanwhile, I'll take 2 questions. One from Harsh. The first question is, what is the World Assessment Council? Dijonn, do you want to take this World Assessment Council?
Yeah, well, the World Assessment Council, an organisation, and it's a non-profit, I believe. It's a non-profit organisation. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they look at education in an online capacity, digitalization, let's say, if that's the right word. So they bring universities and learners together to understand and help them progress through online learning and different types of online, classes that they do. Now I know they have offices in the United States, and there is a group of ambassadors, and I was asked to be one of those ambassadors. So I was invited by the World Assessment Council. So when I do any talks, I always make sure I refer to the World Assessment Council, because we evangelize what digital learning is about, and that's very much my area. As much as careers, I've sort of worked with platforms and stuff. So I would look, if you get the chance, have a look at the World Assessment Council, Harsh, and on their website, and it'll give you a lot more information.
Yeah, you can Google World Assessment Council, and I'm also a proud member of the World Assessment Council. So if you have questions, you can direct these questions to me as well later. Cool. So going to the next question. So we have Bachu, Lakshmi, Manisha. Do you want to talk, Lakshmi? I have allowed you. You can unmute yourself. I want it to be live, actually. So you can ask your question live. Feel free. Go ahead. I've allowed you. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, ma'am. It was a wonderful presentation. Well, my question is, can you suggest us any book? Can it be a story book or a personality development book, so that we can get inspired through?
Oh, I've got quite a good book list, which I should have had in front of me actually, but there are some. I might put the list up here. Is it okay if I put the list, because sort of rolling them off the top of my head, and I'm trying to get myself off the questions here. I can't actually see myself right. That's better. Yeah, I think that there's some really good books that I have read, and they tend to be podcasts as well, because my learning, I'm better at learning through listening on a podcast. So what I'm going to do whilst I'm here, I'm going to just type up some of the readings of books. I'll put them in the chat if that's okay.
So please let us know about the podcast so that we can as well follow them.
Yes, the podcast as well. I tend to follow. I like Goth Settings. He does quite a lot of really good podcasts. I think the podcasts that I like to listen to are the ones that are quite well paced. With, you can kind of get the understanding and the meanings of the podcast. So as I listen to quite a few whilst I'm working, I'm going to put them in the list whilst.
Sure, take your time.
Yeah, I'm going to type them up now.
Thanks, Lakshmi. Thanks for asking the question. You could also drop your request on email to, I guess, info@younggraduate.co.uk, correct? Dijonn?
That's correct.
Please,
that's correct.
Yes,
and just put leverage in the subject.
Yes, just put leverage in the subject and maybe she can share. I don't know if you can really come up with a list right now, but yes, you can drop an email. If somebody drops you an email, maybe you can share over email. Okay, so I'm pulling up the next person. Thank you so much, Lakshmi. I'm pulling up someone else, the next person.
Yeah, title. Any questions live?
Meanwhile, yes, we also have a question from Dr. Anmol Panda. I think this is a very valuable question. How important are public speaking skills for a student?
Very important. Great question. Public speaking, I think public speaking itself is very difficult. And not everybody's going to be able to get up in front of an audience. So, but having the framework of what public speaking is about is important. It's just so you can hone your skills, listen to your voice, and when you articulate what you're doing, that is very important. It does come under public speaking. So I think it is very important that you do listen to public speakers, even though you might not be on a platform where you'll be speaking in front of many and many people. It's just listening to sort of the breathing, the techniques that they use to articulate and deliver the message. So I think it is really, really important. Thank you.
Since no one has raised a hand, but I can see a lot of questions coming up on chat. So the next question is, I'll come to your question first, Dr. Saurabh, and he's saying the help will be provided free of cost or there are any charges. I think you can drop an email on info@younggraduate.co.uk and then you can inquire about the same. Just put leverage on the subject. Coming to another question, which is Ali Jamal Marhez, which is not exactly related to this, but he's asking, I think that AI-generated tools can be both supportive and potentially disadvantageous for students striving to transition from average to outstanding. Your kind feedback. What are your thoughts on this? AI, and how can they actually help them be outstanding?
Okay, so AI is a brilliant tool, a resource that we use and we can use. I think what the difference is now, a lot of recruiters are seeing the same themes in terms of applications. The language that's being used is AI language, and what recruiters are now showing is that if they get an application and it appears to be themed that it's been done by AI, they're getting pushed aside because they AI helps in some situations. In a lot of situations, if you're not applying for a job, or if you are applying for a job, use some AI, but be the author of your own creativity. AI will help you, but if you use your own language and be the author, AI will only give you as much as it can. But when you are authentic, I think that's what I'm trying to say. The authenticity of using your own voice and language and being who you are will serve you better in applications and statements than AI. So it's about being authentic.
True. Thank you so much. I think it's just like it's just like people will say, how would internet help me becoming a better person? Just think about your life without Google. I mean, like if Google wasn't there, I mean, like you wouldn't have been able to get so many answers to most of your questions. So it helped you. Similarly, AI and all the tools that are coming up, they're just going to help you be better. But of course, the core and the crux is your own thought process. And you use all these tools on top of that to get more productivity. If you want to know more about AI and how AI is helping students, please tune into tomorrow's masterclass with Professor Hamad Odabi. He's one of the leaders in AI and how tools like ChatGPT and so many others are helping students. He's also the Vice Chancellor of Abu Dhabi University, UAE. He will be taking a masterclass tomorrow, so do tune in tomorrow. Okay, coming to the next question from Mr. Ravi Gautam. Ma'am, most of the organizations are laggards than innovators in working professionals. This creates digital divide at all platforms. How to overcome? They're saying that there is a digital divide for working professionals. The question is not really clear, Ravi, but I'm just
just go through that again. I'm missing that.
Okay, so I'm reading it again. Greetings, ma'am. Most of the organizations are laggards than innovators in working professionals. This creates digital divide at all platforms. How to overcome this problem? Let's overcome this problem.
Okay.
Of question first.
If I'm understanding the question, there's a difference between a digital divide, between working professionals and non-working professionals. Is that what he's saying?
I mean, if he's talking about digital divide, I'm only assuming that he's saying that some working professionals are using some sort of digital advantage. And
right, okay.
And
yes.
And because most of the organizations are not innovators. So Ravi, your question is not really clear. So I'm moving to the next question. Shagun, your question is, tell me, Dijonn, this is for you. Tell me about a situation where you had to voice your opinion in a meeting or during a project. How do you voice your opinion?
How do I voice my opinion? Okay, so it happens a lot. Unfortunately, because a lot of the meetings I go to, I'm usually the only female in the room, and I'm usually the only person of color in the room, because this is the UK and that happens so much. So I have got myself, I have put myself in a position where I have rewired my mindset. And going back to the slideshows where I spoke about, you're the author of who you want, you leverage your knowledge, you can put things into action once you know what you know. So if I'm going into a room and I'm faced with a challenge of, there's maybe a project that doesn't quite fit, say the group of people we're going to be working with. So I'll give you an example. We've been in a meeting, and the majority in the meeting are talking about a project. We're all talking about a project, sorry, but the majority in the meeting are talking about the client group and the audience that are going to be attending the course. The group that are attending the course are people who are looking like me, have come from a similar background to me, but the people who are making the decision have no lived experience of where I'm coming from. Okay. So my approach to that is, whilst I accept we have some core principles that we have to deal with, and there might be some processes that we have to deal with, I will then approach that to say there are elements of, you know, the course that has to be relatable to the audience. And they are, you know, the people in the room are quite far removed from that audience. So what they need to do is lean or collaborate with me and other people who can possibly...
Go ahead, please.
Sorry.
Sorry,
yeah, who who possibly have shared experience and can reach out to that particular audience. So it's about, again, knowing who you are, being authentic to who you are, and not that you're going to be you're not actually saying that the project is incorrect. It's just that the project has to be open to be viewed by others. And it's about how you frame that, have that, you know, have that conversation without feeling fear.
So true. Okay, I think we have one more question. I will take this one first, which is asked by Mr. Sarthak. Ma'am, my question is, how can we build confidence? Great question.
Sure.
How can we build
Yeah.
confidence? Like in case of interviews, sometimes we get nervous and it leads to negative marking. So how can we improve upon that? How to be more confident and not nervous in interviews?
Okay. First of all, sorry, when I go through the questions, it freezes a bit. So just forgive me if I've got a bit of delay in what I'm saying. Nervousness, it's a thing. Before I started doing my masterclasses, excuse me, I was nervous. I wasn't nervous about public speaking. I was nervous about the content because I wasn't sure whether the content I was going to deliver was going to actually sit right with people. So there my nerves came. If you're going to an interview, what I would always say is have a real good look at the job description and the person's specification. In that job description, the employers are going to be telling you, this is the clue, they are telling you what they want. What you need to do is match your current skills or your previous skills to what they are asking for. You become nervous when you do not know. When you have to artificially put information in, that's where the nerves, you know, come in, because you are not authentic. You are not telling your own story. You have to own your own story. So therefore, if one of those questions, you know, in the job descriptions is great communication skills, you have to think at a point, when have I delivered great communication skills? What are great communication skills? Not average. What are great, outstanding? Again, as the masterclass says, what are great, outstanding communication skills? When you live in your own authority of what you're giving, your nerves will simmer down because you know your own story. You have a story to tell, you know that story. The nerves is, I cannot give a class, a masterclass on maths because I'm absolutely rubbish. If you said to me today, right, you're going to do a masterclass, I know you're fantastic at speaking, just talk about maths, my nerves would kick in because it doesn't sit well with me. I understand what maths are because I like to count money now and again, but I can't deliver a maths class. Okay. So for the person, sorry, who asked that question, get in tune with what you already have. Bring that into the job description and bring that and rehearse what you're going to say. Before you go to that job interview, have about 3 or 4 times of rehearsal of those questions so they will flip off your tongue. I came to this masterclass knowing today I'm going to talk about it. I couldn't just deliver that without any rehearsals. You know, I've had to probably look at it 3 or 4 times. Is it right? Have I included everything that I want to say? And then is the the technology working? Could you hear my video? Because I had some technical issues at the beginning. So you have to keep rehearsing. Once you keep doing it, it gets better. You become more comfortable and your nerves will fall away.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
The key is basically getting to know what you are getting at. So job description, understanding the job description is so important because that is the problem you are solving for that company. So you should know.
That's right.
That it is. Okay, great question. So I have one more question, which is sort of a repeat question. I'll come to this in the end. And I'll merge 2 questions in the end. I'll take one more question, which is from Amit Singh. And you already spoke about it. The question is, how important is international exposure for students? Did you get my question?
No, sorry. Can you just repeat that? I think I was trying to get and it sort of went off.
The question is, how important is international education, international exposure for students? I think the question is, like, if you are a student at a university, how important it is to get an international exposure?
International exposure is to me game changing. I am here, you know, I'm in the UK, but I'm here in India with you guys, and I think it's so important. I think if I was to be sat with you and you said to me as a student, you know, what can I do to raise my game to be an international student? I would be saying, start looking at getting on boards. Be a board member. You could start at university. They have so many different organizations. Get involved. And what you can then do is look at what you're doing and you could share good practice of what you're doing with an international university somewhere else in the world. All you have to do is contact them to say, you know, you're doing this at this university. I am a board member. I'm really interested in what you're doing, you know, in that side of the world. And then you start developing your networks. You start developing your communications. Then you might be invited to speak at one of their university courses, programs. You know, I think it's really important because it does elevate you know, who you are, your skills to another level. I just think it's really, really important that, yes, you do get on. I'm just typing these books for reading. Sorry, I couldn't get onto the chat before, so I'm going to just put them in whilst I'm talking to you. But yes, it's really important.
In fact, if you want to buy some time, I have a little poll for people, and I'm just going to launch that poll. And then after that, we are going to take one more question, and then we'll say,
okay,
we'll call it off. So I'm sharing a poll with everyone, guys. Feel free to give your comments and your responses to it. And while Dijonn is writing and typing and curating a list of books that you should go through.
Sorry, is this poll for me?
It's also coming for you? Of course, yes, it will be for everyone.
No.
Actually. But if you want, you can.
We cannot vote, sorry.
we have all the audience today.
Okay,
we have
okay.
students and we have professors and lecturers and university officials and working professionals. So yeah, it's open for everyone. Everybody's opinion is important.
Yeah.
Dijonn, are you okay? Can we stretch this for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay, wonderful. So
the rain has just come down in Manchester heavily, so I won't be going anywhere very soon.
okay. You have still the entire day ahead of you. It's hardly 1 or I think 2 p.m. there. So one of the questions is, how do top students manage their study time? Like, what do you think, in your opinion? How do top students, top performing students, how do they manage their time?
Did you say top students?
Top students. When she means like top performing students, straight A's.
Top performing students. Okay. How do they manage their time?
Yes. Study time.
Okay. Study time. Time management is a skill that is one of those key skills. And I think you have to be able to break your day down into manageable chunks. There's got to be a cutoff point because you're going to be on burnout. So if your study time is taking you, say, to 6 p.m. on an evening, that has to be your cutoff time. And you have to work within the hours that you have to ensure that you get things finished. There are going to be times where you do go over, but I think what I'm trying to say is, throughout your day, make the 6 or 7 hours count. Break them down, have break times, make sure you have your lunch hours, because if you're on, like a treadmill, you will get burnt out very quickly. And what you think you'll be doing today will then move on tomorrow and then the following day. And then by the time you know it, you have, backed up a lot of work that needs to be done in a small amount of time. I always also say, and my rule is, the things that I do not like, I do first. The things I do not like, I do first. Because once I've got them out the way, I can sail through all the things that I like quite easily. So do the things you don't like first. So like me, maths. If I have something that I have to do on maths, I open my eyes and I think, oh my gosh, it's maths. I will make sure I do that the very first thing I do in the morning. Once I've done that, everything else, I've got more time and I enjoy. So that's just the way I do things, some of my tips.
Wonderful. I think there's a popular saying which goes, eat your frog first. So whatever is your pain area, address it first.
That's right.
Another great question here,
that's right.
Which I think everybody is facing this problem. I think everybody in this world, we all think about doing something and we keep procrastinating it. The question here is, I always think and that I have lots of work but I procrastinate the work. How can I get rid of procrastination?
Oh, that's a lovely one. Procrastination is a thing that just turns up in everybody's life. Yeah. I think you just have to get over that first hurdle of doing whatever you're procrastinating as. So my example, and I'm going to share this with you because this has happened quite recently. I had a relative who passed away last month. So in the midst of me getting ready for my masterclasses and stuff, he doesn't have any children. He's an elderly uncle and he was poorly. So, we expected it. And I got the task of having to prepare the arrangements for, his funeral and things like that. So over the last couple of weeks, I kept saying, right, I've got masterclasses. I just can't do them just yet. Too much distractions. I actually physically took my laptop up one night and I sat and I looked at it for an hour and I did nothing because I was procrastinating. And I said, right, if I don't do this today, I have 8 days left. If I don't make a start, I cannot deliver. That was my motivation. If I cannot deliver this masterclass, I will never deliver again. I'll be too ashamed. So I kind of portioned some of the self-belief of being ashamed that I've not done my work, that I will never work again because I'll be too ashamed to put my head above the parapet. So for procrastination, let's have our shame button. Let's devise a shame button. If we don't do it, we're going to press that button of shame. So let's devise your button of shame.
Yes. Oh, wonderful.
By the end of the night, yeah. If
I'm
you
going
don't
to create this
do
button of shame. I'm going to create this very soon.
Yes. We're going to create this, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to create it. And that button of shame, once it's been pressed, should be sent out to all your networks to say, I have done nothing. That's the way that procrastination would end for everybody.
Wonderful. That's a great advice. I think we'll take the last question. Shagun has raised her hand. I'm allowing her to talk. Shagun, you are permitted. Please ask your question in person.
Are you on mute?
No, I think people struggle with the tech sometimes. So I'm just giving the benefit of doubt. Shagun, I think you're ready. Okay, no worries. Meanwhile, I'll take the other question. Shagun, anyways, you're permitted. If you're okay, you can ask. Okay. I think we did address, Mohit has a question like, how important is English in an interview? Well, I think the context here is that India is a country where English is the second language. And there are so many regional languages in the country. So some people do believe that, is it important that we converse in English? What do you think, as somebody who is a native English speaker, what is your advice and what do you think about all those countries where English is not their first language?
Yeah. So here in the UK, I can only talk from the UK experience. We have a melting pot of cultures. So English as a second language is quite high up here. And whether that's coming from, the Asian continents or the African continents, I think the conversations is the accents that people struggle with. So I would say, don't be afraid, because people like accents. I think generally we feel personally that because we don't speak the Queen's English that we're doing something wrong, and it's so far from the truth. People are curious when they hear accents. They want to know where you're from, and what better way of sharing your culture and your life skills and experiences about. I want to know about India. I know about the Taj Mahal. I know about the rivers of Ganges. I know a little bit about India, but how great is it when you sit with a person who has such a rich cultural background that they can share? So my thing is, yes, there are issues, and I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. We have issues in England where the accent, your name sounds different, your name looks different, where we do have discrimination. It's here and it's everywhere. But what I will say is, be who you are. Fear nobody and fear nothing, because you are authentic. You have so much to offer. You speak English very well, but you might have an accent. We have people from the Caribbean who speak English very well. English is their first language. They have an accent. The world is full of people with accents. English is not the be all and end all the English language. I get, asked, where am I from? Where am I really from? I was born in that hospital up the road in England. I still get those questions asked, but people are curious. It's curiosity. So even if English is not your first language, as long as you know, and as long as you can articulate what you are saying with an accent, that is fine. I think we've all got on here today. We've all been able to understand each other. If I haven't understood, it's because my technology is freezing or I've missed part of the question. But, we have a great understanding, and it's about how confident you feel to be able to deliver that, whatever your message is internationally. We hear it on TV every day. We're online every day. Not everybody speaks, and not everybody wants to speak the Queen's English. We all have authentic accents that my parents as well would love to keep. So yeah, that's my two penny on that.
I mean, makes a lot of sense. I think this is something that I would also like to add a little bit here. I think, everybody, please do not see English language as a language which can make or break your career. Let me tell you, there are thousands and thousands of examples and millions of examples of people who have excelled in their career without knowing the language. I mean, think about countries like Germany or Korea or Japan or China. Now they're trying to catch up, but then they've been doing their research in their own language. So any language, be it English or whatever, is just another method or medium to communicate. Like Dijonn said, if people will have accents, think about somebody in England trying to speak Hindi. Now, your language.
Absolutely.
So think about the accent that they will have, and that would be so funny. So it's not like, you have an accent or you're trying to pick, you're not fluent, you're not that verbose. It's okay. What's important is you're able to send your message across, and that's what is important.
That's it.
And if you
100%.
Passion, yes, people feel the passion. Language is not a barrier. People feel passion.
Yes.
Just be passionate in whatever you are speaking. So I think it will felt.
Yeah.
Beyond one more question. This is the last question of the day.
Okay.
There's someone who's an anonymous attendee. Dr. Anmol Panda, do you want to be pulled up? I'm allowing you to talk. Dr. Panda has one question. I love academicians. So let's hear it from Dr. Panda.
Good evening, ma'am. It is one of the wonderful webinar I have come through. Ma'am, I just want to ask one question. You have been in. You told you have been in many meetings. You have been a motivator. You are also a career guide. Ma'am, how you handle difficult people? Because across our career, we may meet difficult people, whom have disagreements with our ideas, with our projects, with our plans. How do I handle those people and that particular situation? Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you, sir. Yes, you might have to just, the volume is a bit low on that. So can you just repeat the question for me?
Has a great question here. He is saying, how do you handle difficult people or difficult colleagues? Now, these colleagues could be, you can come across them in a meeting or working with them in a project. Like, how do you come across difficult people who make your life difficult in ways more than one? How do you address that as a working professional?
Did you say where there might be more than one? Because it froze a bit at the end. Where there might be more than one profession.
No, I'm saying, like, as a person, how do you handle difficult colleagues?
Right. Okay. So thank you for your question, Dr. Panda. I think the style of your management style will be called, you know, is part of the question. I think it's how to manage people. And what you have to do is find that there's always going to be difficult people. You have to find the what's the word I'm thinking? The common. There'll be a common. What's the word? You see, I forget words as well. You'll have some commonality in what you do. So, for example, you've got a difficult person or colleague who just likes to be loud all the time, or wants to speak over someone all the time, and you don't get to give your opinion because they feel their opinion is worth more. I think what you've got to do is give them the time and space to say what they need to say. Once they've finished, I think the best way to, and it might be a different situation, but I'm just using this as an example. The best way, once they've finished, is the line is, I absolutely heard everything you said. And whilst I heard, I might not agree for the reasons being, giving your reasons. You can only do that with really good listening skills. And this is coming back to the key skills we had. If you have really keen listening skills, you will hear what that person is saying. I think when it gets to a stage where it is very loud, it becomes very destructive and distractive. Allowing people who are disruptive to have the time, you then need to come back to them and, with what I've just said, is whilst I understand, I might not agree, the reasons why I don't agree, and you've got to be very clear on that. I think how you end it is by saying, you know, we all have opinions, we all have, you know, we all have a job to do, and we have to be able to do that in partnership without offending others. And it's that, and if you use the word, because it could be offending others, you're not actually telling them they are offended. It could be seen as offensive the way that you were talking or what you're saying to other people. I think that's how I would approach it. I have worked in investors in people before, and so, you know, people management is a really difficult skill. Not everybody's set up to be a manager, but if you've got colleagues who are that way, and then it might be a process of going to the senior management team, or, you know, to express your concerns if it gets so heavy. But I usually pick up on, whilst I hear what you're saying, I might not agree, and the reasons why I don't agree, but we can agree to disagree. But what we don't want to do is cause offense to anybody else.
Wonderful. I am in two minds with two questions. Okay, I'm taking Sharanya's question. The question is, being a student, and as all students dream to work in foreign countries, what would be that one thing that we need to focus so that we can make it true, working in a foreign country?
Yeah. So I'm guessing, if I'm understanding the question, where the student is now, they want to work in an international country, different to where they are. Yeah. The one thing, I mean, there's probably a lot of things, but the one thing I feel at the moment is that there is a lot of competition coming to the UK from Asia, from Africa, from China, wherever. So the competition is really high. What I would say is, look at first of all, I'm giving a couple of points here. Look at the universities that are less popular. So everybody wants to come to Oxford, Cambridge, and Harvard, top 3 universities in the UK. Outside of those, you've got a lot of really good universities. Manchester University, where I'm from, is a very good university. They also have a very big intake of foreign students. There's Salford University. There's lots of other universities in other cities. So that's one thing I would look at, those that are less popular, because your competition isn't going to be as great. Secondly, I would say any statement that you're putting in as, you know, your university statements, make sure they are matched to what the university are looking at. Research the university on their values, because values are always really, really important from an institution's point of view. So if an institution say we value all students from all walks of life, from international students, have a look at what they value and ensure that you put their values in your statement, because that's telling them that you've researched who they are and you are committing to the values that they are asking or they are saying that they are. Now, if you put that in your statement and they come back and say, oh, well, no, but you just pinpoint, you know, that's what you said in your values. And, you know, I'm promoting, I am a good candidate based on your values. Again, it's about deconstructing what's out there, and I can give you, you know, help with that. So drop me a line at the on the email, and then we can have a conversation.
With that, we come to the culmination of this masterclass. We are already 20 minutes above. Thank you so much, Dijonn, for your time and being patient and taking this further beyond the stipulated time. I think there's some anonymous attendee. You have a question, how to be a more positive person. Please drop your question via email to info@younggraduate.co.uk. Thank you everyone for attending Edorer's Masterclass. We look forward to seeing you for tomorrow's session 2. And do share your comments and feedback on our social media channels and over email. Thank you so much.
Yes, please.
You.
Can I just say before the go, can you tag me in on your socials if you found it useful or not? If you know, any good, any bad feedback, anything, please tag me in so I can know what's been, you know, how you felt about it. That helps me leverage, as we're talking about leverage, it helps me leverage my skills and experience to become outstanding.
Yes. Please find Dijonn on LinkedIn, and you can tag her if you want to have any comment or anything to make about this masterclass. Please do that. If you've learned something, please share it with others in your network, and do tag me or Dijonn and Edorer, and we would be very happy that you learned something in this session. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for your time. Take care.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.